Hey, Greg.
There we go. Hey, Coach. First of all, to start with Texas, what do you see from the Longhorns? What did they do well?
Pretty much everything. I think the difference in their team, and obviously they've recruited well again, but I think the difference in their team is the experience they have at their guard positions. Their guards are playing extremely well, very poised, know what Shaka wants done. So I think that's the biggest difference. I mean, you could probably add in a couple high school All-Americans, but I think the guards are what really makes them go.
John Antonic.
Best team Shaka's had since you've played him?
By far.
Really?
Yeah, by far.
Is it because of the guard play? Experience going tough guard play?
Yeah, they get them into what Shaka wants them in a lot better than they did, obviously, when they were young. You know, imagine putting a 17, 18-year-old kid out there in our league. It's rough.
He kind of bit the bullet there. How tough is that to do that, particularly in this league when you got expectations to win right away?
I don't know. What do you mean bit the bullet?
Well, I mean, he played young guys. He had to play young guys really the last couple of years to kind of had to go through all of that to get to where he is now.
Well, I think most guys would be happy playing the young guys that are McDonald's All-Americans.
Yeah, that's true too.
Justin Jackson.
Hey, Coach, if I could ask you about the flip side a little bit here with Texas. Obviously, I think they lead the Big 12 and field goal percentage defense. What are you seeing there, and you know, how do you make shots against it?
Well, I think to a large degree, their defense is because of the athleticism that they have. I mean, they've got shot blocker after shot blocker and shot changer after shot changer, and their guards are good. You know, you got guards that have been in this league for quite a while that understand, and they put a lot of pressure on the ball. This is, I think, a way better team than what we've seen before.
Chris Anderson.
Hey, Coach, a year ago today, actually, we were writing stories about this different kind of pick and roll defense that you guys are running and how successful it was. What's been going on this season, and what different strategies have you tried?
Well, pretty much everything that I know. But we did a good job. We did a good job the last game. I think, like anything else, I mean, a lot of times it's just not what you're doing. It's the people that are trying to do it, you know. That's why we have experts in different fields. They understand what's supposed to happen. And you know, we had some guys who, for a variety of different reasons, didn't get to where they need to get. And when that happens, I don't care what it is you're doing, you're not going to be very successful.
Greg Hunter.
So, Coach, the growth of Taz Sherman, what's allowed him to, you know, he was a good player, but he's starting to take steps forward, it looks like. Do you agree? And what's allowed that?
Just confidence. I think, you know, he came in a year ago and he's kind of feeling his way through, and he's playing with so much confidence right now. You know, it's more, you know, give me the ball, you know, I'll score it now than before. It was, you know, he kind of took a backseat to some other guys, and he has, without a question. I mean, he and Derek have been our guys, our go-to guys, and our other guys are looking for him. He's been our most consistent perimeter shooter, and he can score a number of ways, which makes him all the more dangerous.
Go ahead, John Antonic.
In order to beat Texas tomorrow, you have to do what?
Score more than them or hold them to less than what we get. We got to keep them on transition. You know, they're terrific in transition. They can all run like crazy, and we've got to make it, I think, more of a half court game. We can't get all spread out and run up and down the floor with them.
Justin Jackson.
Hey, Coach, tomorrow will be your guys' 13th game, which I believe was the NCAA minimum to be eligible for the NCAA tournament. Obviously, you guys aren't going to just pack up after this game and take the rest of the season off. But if you go back to November, pandemic and questions and didn't know what was going to happen, did you ever think you would get to this point?
Honestly, yeah, I did. I've got a lot of confidence in our guys doing the right thing, and I think if you have followed closely, we haven't had a positive drug test or a positive, not drug test, a positive COVID-19 test, and we haven't had a positive drug test either, by the way. But our guys and we sat down when they came back and just said, fellas, this is on you. If you're going to run downtown, if you're going to hang out in parties, if you're going to have people around you that you don't know, then we're going to have a miserable season, and you're going to have a miserable season. We've got to stay close. You got to hang out with your teammates, and you can't hang out with people. You can't bring other people in, and they've done a terrific job. I mean, when you think about going this long and we haven't had a positive, so of course we get tested like seemingly 15 times a week, but it's not quite that many. It just seems like that, but. We get tested again this morning. Got tested yesterday. Got tested again this morning. We'll get tested again tomorrow morning. So I mean, they know what's coming.
Kellis.
Hey, Bob, thanks for letting me hop on here real quick. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. I'm writing a story about coaches ditching suits and wearing more casual stuff this year, which is something you've done for quite a while. What's your kind of opinion on that? What's it like to see everyone else dressing the way you do, and what do you think about it moving forward?
Well, I've always been a trendsetter. No, of course, you get a job like I got the Cincinnati job. I thought, man, I got a big time job. I got to dress, like those other guys dress. And so I wore a suit and sweated through the suit. I mean, my suit was soaking wet when the game was over with. And I'm walking in one day and after the game and my AD, no, it was at halftime. I'm soaking, just drenched at halftime. My AD said, "You don't look very comfortable." I said, "I'm not very comfortable." And he said, coaches really ought to dress comfortable. Well, that was the green light for me. So I haven't put a tie on since. But I'm glad coaches have. I mean, I remember going to Rutgers and guys are just drilling me like, why don't you wear a suit? Or what's your philosophy behind not wearing a suit? Or, don't people are people offended that you dress the way you dress? And I'm like, hey, listen, man, I'm not a banker. I'm a ball coach. I'm not a banker. And this is how ball coaches dress. This is how ball coaches are supposed to dress. And that kind of got some that made news for a little while. But,
well, I'm yet to talk to any other coach who says they're ready to go back to the suits. So you might, I don't know, you might get it. You might see everyone like this in the future.
Well, if Calipari doesn't go back, no one's going back.
Hey, thanks, Bob. I appreciate it.
All right, man.
Go ahead, Mike Kazaza.
Morning, Bob. How are you?
I'm well, Mike.
Good. A lot happened last week. Roster stuff, and then, by the way, 2 games in 3 days and on the road, and not a whole lot of time to get your breath. Now that you've been back and all the plates have stopped spinning here, where do you go and how do you go about new normal and just making sure that everybody kind of has their feet square underneath them and you're ready to go forward?
Well, it hasn't been normal, Mike. We've got a couple guys with the flu, not COVID-19. They've been tested the flu, and you know, the flu can make you pretty sick. And we've had some guys that are sick. We're banged up, man. We're not what we were going into last week physically, that's for sure. But you know, they'll respond like they always do. But that's the difference. I mean, the difference is we're banged up, and you know, and I'm gonna tell you something, man. People don't get it. I mean, we get a tough loss at Oklahoma, one we thought we could have got, and so you get on a bus and you bus a couple hours and you get in to the hotel, and you know you're cramped from sitting on that bus and all, and then you got to go practice the next day, obviously, to get ready for Oklahoma State, and then we have a big win, and then we land in Clarksburg at 5 a.m. and then you get on a bus and you ride another 35, 40 minutes. And then you go out here and scrape the snow or the frost off of your car, throw your bag in the car, go home, and then have to come back and practice the next day. And I don't think people get that. And nobody else does that. Nobody else does. Maybe Hawaii, but that's it. You know, and they all complain about having to come here or the flight back from here and how late they get back. And we do it every single frickin' away game. So our guys fight a lot of obstacles, man. You know, I mean, they fight a lot of obstacles, and I'm proud of them, man. I'm proud of what we've been able to do, and in light of all the barriers that are thrown in front of us.
John.
Yeah, along those lines, how were they this week? How did they respond from the way they played at the end of the game against Oklahoma State? And you said you practiced them Tuesday, or did you give them off Tuesday and go Wednesday, Thursday?
Yeah, we had Tuesday off. We took Tuesday off, and then Tuesday night, I'm getting calls about guys having the flu. You can't imagine what it is, and unless you're there, and then you can't even imagine it because you're not out running up and down the floor for 40 minutes. So it's a lot tougher than what everybody thinks it is. You know, and then they reward us coming home and playing number 4 and number 2. You know, it's
Greg.
Bob, you mentioned the other day that Sean McNeil has a toe injury. What's the extent of that?
well, actually, I thought he moved better yesterday in practice. It's just a matter of it's got to heal. There's no magical cure for it. I'm more concerned with our guys with the flu right now than I am anything else. And we can't practice. You know, I mean, we're going through things, but we're going through things with we're at 11 guys, and then you get, you know, it's Sean kind of limping around, and Derek's limping around, and we got 2 guys with the flu. So Derek's more limping around. Derek's pretty banged up. And if you look at the film of what happens to him during a game, you'll understand why he's so banged up.
And Mike.
Well, I was going to ask you if you're able to practice adequately, but it sounds like no. But in retrospect, what did you like? What did you not like now that you've had a chance to talk to him and walk him through some tape from those 2 games?
Obviously didn't like the first half. We just didn't play with the kind of enthusiasm and the kind of intensity that we need to play with. Actually, we looked at some film from a year ago, a little later than this in the year, but when our guys were flying around and blocking shots and running the floor, and we got to get back to that. But I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's we're banged up. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're banged up. We got to, obviously Doc is doing a great job of trying to get them healed up. And we had 3 doctors in here yesterday. There's usually, maybe 1, but 3. So, but we'll respond. We'll respond. They'll respond. They are very resilient.
Any other questions for Hugs today? Okay, Coach, thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
My pleasure.